This is why God sometimes hides you in silence, because separation is painful. And if you could see everything he was removing, you would try to hold on. But in the silence, he works. In the silence, he cuts away what is draining you. In the silence, he detaches you from relationships that look like blessings but are really weights. It feels like you are being overlooked, but you are actually being prepared. It feels like you are alone, but you are actually being positioned. You cannot hear the applause of the crowd in the quiet season, but you are not meant to, because this is the season when God strengthens your roots before he elevates your branches. Look at the life of Joseph. His brothers could not go where God was taking him, so betrayal became the vehicle of separation. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, cast into prison. And at every stage it looked like loss. But what looked like separation was really preparation for elevation. By the time he reached the palace, he had no crowd from his childhood cheering him on, but he had character forged in silence. Sometimes the pit is necessary to prove to you that you can survive without their approval. Sometimes the prison is necessary to teach you to rely on God's presence when everyone else has abandoned you. Separation sets the stage for elevation. It is also important to understand that elevation is not just about going higher in status, it is about going deeper in character. You cannot take jealousy into your next level. You cannot take insecurity into your next level. You cannot take bitterness into your next level. Sometimes the separation is not just from people, it is from mindsets, from habits, from attitudes that would sabotage your future. Before you step into elevation, you must be separated from the things in you that are not fit for where you are going, because you cannot walk into promise with a wilderness mentality. You cannot walk into destiny with a defeated mindset. Separation cleanses you of what cannot survive in the next dimension. The pain of separation often tricks us into thinking something went wrong. But the truth is, it went right because you prayed for elevation, and elevation cannot come without the cutting away. You asked for growth, and growth requires pruning. You asked for new doors, and new doors require closed ones. Sometimes God will allow people to walk away from you, and you will not understand it in the moment. But in hindsight, you will see that their departure created the space for your destiny to breathe. What you thought was abandonment was actually alignment. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. Separation is also a test of focus. Can you keep your eyes on where you are going, even when who you thought would walk with you is no longer by your side? Can you continue the journey without the comfort of familiar voices? Can you still believe in your assignment when your support system has been stripped away? These are the moments when you learn that true destiny does not need an entourage, it only needs obedience. True destiny does not require constant applause, it only requires faith. When you learn to walk in separation, you are proving that your elevation is not dependent on them. It is dependent on God's calling over your life. Do not despise the season of separation, because it is evidence that you are being set apart for something greater. Eagles fly alone for a reason. They soar to altitudes where other birds cannot breathe. If you try to take crows with you, they will die in the thin air. If you try to drag chickens with you, they will never leave the ground. Elevation is lonely, but it is purposeful. You are not isolated because you are forgotten. You are isolated because you are chosen. You are not quiet because you are irrelevant. You are quiet because you are being cultivated. Elevation requires separation, And if you can endure the silence, if you can survive the solitude, if you can walk faithfully when no one else is watching, you will be ready to stand strong when the doors of destiny swing open. There comes a time when words are no longer enough, a time when explanations fall flat, when arguments do not convince, and when defending yourself drains more than it delivers. You can talk all day about what you are going to do. You can argue endlessly about what you are capable of, but nothing silences doubt and criticism more effectively than results. The fruit of your labor will always testify louder than the sound of your voice. You do not have to beg people to see you differently. Just let your results reveal what words cannot explain. It is tempting to want to respond to every critic, to try and correct every lie, to stand up and argue your worth. But the truth is, you will never convince people who are determined not to believe in you. Some people have already made up their minds about you, and no speech, no defense, no explanation will change that. But what they cannot ignore is undeniable evidence. They may not believe your words, but they cannot argue with your fruit. They cannot dismiss the visible results of your faith, your work, your perseverance. When results begin to manifest, even your enemies will have to sit quietly and watch. Consider a seed in the ground. While it is buried, there is no evidence of its growth. People may walk by and say nothing is happening. They may doubt its potential because they see only dirt. But in the silence of the soil, transformation is taking place. Roots are spreading, life is forming, strength is building. And when the right time comes, the seed breaks through the ground and produces what was always inside of it. At that moment, the seed does not have to argue with the doubters. Its results speak for it. Your life is the same way. You may be in a season where it looks like nothing is happening, where people assume you have failed. But when your time comes, your results will break through the surface and silence every voice that spoke against you. This is why it is so important to focus less on talking and more on building. Let them underestimate you while you prepare. Let them doubt you while you grow. Let them dismiss you while you are still in the soil. Because when your results show, they will have no choice but to acknowledge the fruit. You do not need to announce every step you are taking. You do not need to reveal every plan you are working on. Sometimes the most powerful move is to stay silent, keep building, and allow your results to be the announcement. People may question your character, but they cannot deny your consistency. They may doubt your ability, but they cannot deny your achievement. They may mock your vision, but they cannot deny your manifestation. Your results will always outlive their words. This is why you cannot afford to spend your energy arguing with small-minded people. Every minute you waste trying to prove yourself to them is a minute you could have invested in building something that speaks for itself. The best revenge against doubt is not anger, it is success. The best answer to criticism is not explanation, it is elevation. The best response to slander is not retaliation, it is results. Think about how many times Jesus performed miracles in silence. He did not spend his ministry constantly defending himself against the Pharisees. He let his work speak. Blind eyes opened, lame legs walked. Lepers were cleansed, storms were calmed. His results were the testimony that words could never carry. The same principle applies to your life. You do not have to keep talking. Just produce. Just grow. Just create. Just transform. When people see the evidence of what you have become, they will realize words were never necessary. Results have a way of changing conversations. The same people who once doubted you will ask how you did it. The same people who mocked you will want to sit at your table. The same people who ignored you will suddenly try to align with you. But do not seek validation from them, because your results were never for their applause. Your results are the fulfillment of the purpose planted inside of you. They are proof to you that belief was not in vain, that silence was not wasted, that separation was not punishment. Your results are the harvest of everything you endured in secret. But you cannot achieve results without discipline. Results require sacrifice, persistence, and consistency. They require working when no one is watching, building when no one is cheering, sowing when no one is applauding. Results are not the product of talk, they are the product of grind. That is why people who spend all their time trying to convince others rarely produce anything. They are too busy defending their worth instead of developing their work. If you want results, you must be willing to stay focused, stay silent, and let time reveal what effort has built. And remember this, real results do not just benefit you, they bless others. The tree does not eat its own fruit. The results of your growth will feed people who once doubted you, bless those who once ignored you, and inspire those who once underestimated you. Your results will become a testimony that goes beyond arguments. They will show that faith works, perseverance works, silence works, belief works. When people see your fruit, they will see the power of a life built not on noise, but on substance. Results also protect you from the exhaustion of trying to prove yourself. When you allow your results to speak, you no longer need to beg for recognition or validation. You understand that what you have produced is enough evidence. You stop chasing people's approval and start focusing on producing fruit that stands on its own. Your results will open doors words could never open. They will create opportunities that arguments could never win. They will put you in places that explanations could never qualify you for. Results have a language that transcends culture, opinion, and resistance. They are undeniable. So when you are tempted to argue, remember that the best statement you can make is progress. When you are tempted to defend yourself, remember that the strongest defense is proof. When you are tempted to retaliate, remember that the greatest retaliation is success. Stop exhausting yourself with words and start investing yourself in results. Because at the end of the day, people may ignore your explanations, but they cannot ignore the evidence of transformation that stands in front of them.